You have a second identity, not the one your friends know, not the one your family knows, not even the one you know. This version of you lives inside databases you have never seen, owned by companies you have never heard of, and sold to landlords, employers, gig apps, lenders, and anyone else deciding whether you are worth the risk. It knows where you have lived, what you have owed, where you have worked, what you have been accused of, what you were late on, what someone with your name may have done. And one day, without warning, that version of you can ruin your life. You apply for an apartment, you pay the application fee, upload your ID, submit your pay stubs, maybe even hand over your bank statements. Then you wait. You never meet the person making the decision. You never explain your situation. You never get to tell your side of the story. Somewhere in the background, your name is pulled into a system. Your addresses, court records, credit history, eviction history, criminal records, employment history, and risk scores are packaged into a report. Then the answer comes back. Denied. No real explanation, no conversation, no chance to fix it before the apartment is gone. And the strangest part is this: the person who rejected you may not have been a person at all. It may have been a company you have never heard of, using records you have never seen, selling a version of you that may not even be true. This is the hidden business of background checks, and it is much bigger, much stranger, and much more powerful than most people realize. Because background checks are not just something employers use before hiring you. They are used by landlords, gig apps, lenders, volunteer organizations, hospitals, schools, insurance companies, and sometimes even dating platforms. Before you get the job, rent the apartment, drive for the app, or access the opportunity, there is often a company standing between you and yes. And that company's job is not to understand you. It is to flag you. The first layer is the basic business model. Background check companies make money by collecting information about people, packaging it into reports, and selling those reports to companies that want to reduce risk. On paper, this makes sense. An employer does not want to hire someone dangerous for a sensitive job. A landlord does not want to rent to someone with a long record of unpaid rent. A school does not want to place children around someone with a violent past. The problem is not that background checks exist. The problem is that the system treats messy human lives like clean data, and human lives are not clean data. Names are shared, records are incomplete, court databases are fragmented, old addresses get mixed up, cases are dismissed but still appear, charges show up without outcomes. Someone with the same name gets confused with you. The report does not need to understand the context. It just needs to produce an answer. And the customer is not you. That is the second layer. When a background check company sells a report, the person being investigated is not the real customer. The customer is the landlord, the employer, the platform, or the company paying for the screening. You are the product. Your past is the product. Your risk profile is the product. That creates a strange incentive. The background check company is not rewarded for giving you a fair hearing. It is rewarded for making the customer feel protected. And in a world where companies are terrified of liability, the safest answer is often no. If a background check misses something, the company gets blamed. If it flags too much, most people never notice. The rejected applicant simply disappears. So the system has a built-in bias toward caution, toward suspicion, toward turning uncertainty into denial. That is why the word flagged matters. A flag does not mean you are guilty. It does not mean you are dangerous. it does not even always mean the information is correct. It means the system found something. And once the system finds something, the burden often shifts to you to prove that the machine is wrong. This becomes especially disturbing with housing because housing is not optional. Most landlords now rely on tenant screening reports. These can include credit history, rental history, eviction filings, criminal records, income estimates, and algorithmic risk scores. The landlord may not read every detail. They may just see a score, a recommendation, or a warning. Approve, deny, proceed with caution. And that can be enough. Imagine being rejected from an apartment because of an eviction record that belonged to someone else, or because a case was filed but later dismissed, or because an old debt was reported without context, or because an algorithm decided that statistically you looked risky. You might dispute it. You might eventually fix it. But the apartment is gone. Someone else already signed the lease. That is the brutal part about bad data. Even when it gets corrected, it can still cost you the opportunity. A false report only needs to arrive at the wrong moment. The same thing happens with employment. Background checks are sold as common sense. They reduce risk. They protect the workplace. They make hiring safer. But they also create an invisible filter. Before you explain who you are now, a company can see who you were, or who the database thinks you were. For people with records, even old or minor ones, this creates a loop that is hard to escape. You need a job to rebuild your life, but the record makes it harder to get a job. And because hiring moves fast, employers may not investigate every detail. They just move to the next applicant. Then there is the gig economy. Rideshare, delivery, home services, and care platforms process thousands of workers through automated screening. A person applies, a background check runs, a decision comes back. Approved, waitlisted, deactivated, rejected. For the company, this is efficiency. For the worker, it can feel like being judged by a locked door. And when your income depends on access to the app, a mistake is not paperwork. It is rent. It is groceries. It is whether you can work this week. This is where background checks start to feel less like consumer protection and more like private infrastructure. A hidden layer of permission. You can live here. You can work here. You can drive here. Or you cannot. The next layer is data. Background check companies pull from courts, credit bureaus, public records, private databases, data brokers, address histories, watch lists, and other information vendors. The industry is built on a simple idea. Your life leaves a trail. Every address, application, debt, case, phone number, and public record attached to your name becomes part of a market. And once that market exists, companies find new ways to use it. Jobs, apartments, gig work, insurance, identity verification, fraud prevention, risk scoring. The logic spreads because the pitch is irresistible. Why take a chance on a person when you can buy a report? That is the final layer. The background check industry is not really selling information. It is selling certainty. It tells companies the safest decision is to outsource judgment to a database. Sometimes that database catches real risks. But the problem with building society around risk scores is that eventually everyone becomes suspicious by default. You are not a person applying for an apartment. You are a file. You are not a worker trying to get hired. You are a liability profile. You are not someone who changed, improved, recovered, paid the debt, beat the case, or moved on. You are whatever the report says you are. And that is what makes this industry so powerful. It does not need to arrest you, sue you, or publicly accuse you of anything. It only needs to quietly place a question mark next to your name. Because in a competitive market, a question mark is often enough. The landlord has another applicant, the employer has another resume, the platform has another driver. And you are left trying to figure out which invisible system decided you were not worth the risk. That is the real business of background checks, not just finding out who you are, deciding who you are allowed to become